But it is the top of the hour, so let's get started. This is our third and final edition of the training video club for working with upset customers. Thank you all for participating, for everything that you've shared online in these webinars, as well as offline, and I appreciate that as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we've got the technology sorted out today. It's going to work for us. I'm going to attempt to share a few slides with you. We'll see how that goes. As before, we'll use the chat box for your interactions. If you have questions you'd like me to answer, please try to use the Q&A function. It makes it easier for me to separate your questions from our ongoing dialogue. If you can't find it or it's not working, I don't think it was working last week, the chat box is fine. So we'll be flexible. We'll work through this together. So hopefully you can see me. There I am. Hi. And you can see my screen. If not, let me know, and then I'll freak out and I won't know what to do about it, but at least I'll know. This is our third episode, and today we're focusing on diffusing tense situations. So customers angry. We've tried to empathize perhaps. What can we do to get things to ratchet down a notch? So I want to share with you first, what were the assignments for this week? And there were a few things. Wanted to make sure, as always, you review that list of things that you'd like to learn. So here's a tip. Any training that you take, any book that you read, training video, anytime you're consuming business-related content, if you start by making this list, whether it's one thing or three things, I would not recommend more than that. But a short list, what do I want to gain from this? You will get more out of it. So I hope you made that list, and I hope you've gone back to that list, because what you might want from it might be a little different than what some other people might want from it. So hopefully you reviewed your list. And then I had 3 short videos that I asked you to watch: helping customers be right, the acknowledge and refocus technique, and then drawing the line at abusive behavior. And so we're going to spend just a moment talking about each of these. Now, if you've noticed, and I hope you have, a little behind the scenes here, we've gone in a very specific order with these techniques. And it's my experience that if you use some of these techniques up front, for example, our very first session, recognizing your own fight or flight instinct, if you do that up front, everything else will go better. You might not even need some of these other techniques. But if you don't do that, then things will get worse. And throughout the course, I've very deliberately shown you that same scenario, the 2 versions, so you could see what happens when things go wrong, what happens when things go right. And speaking of when things go right, that is when you're helping customers be right. That is one of the very first things. I won't need to really get into an argument if I can just help them be right. And then they feel like I'm on their side again. But if that doesn't work, then we move to the acknowledge and refocus technique. So let us, I want to do a very quick video review as before. I've got a snippet of a video, and then I have a couple of questions for you. While I'm queuing up the video, I have another question for you. This is an opinion. There's no answer to this, but if you will via chat, do you think the barista really did add 4 pumps of vanilla to that customer's latte? So via chat, tell me, what do you think? Did the barista really add 4 pumps of vanilla or not? Now, give me a moment to queue up this video. A couple of people have ventured an opinion. Some, let's see, a couple so far, no, and some yes. Interesting, interesting. Okay, now I'm going to share this. And here is the video screen. Let's share this video very quickly.
Okay, I just don't understand why this keeps happening. Like 4 pumps of vanilla, how hard can that be?
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I actually a peppermint person myself. Can't get enough of it. Mm-hmm. This was a vanilla latte, right?
Yeah, non-fat.
Okay, you hang on to this one. I'm gonna make a new one. That way we can do a little taste test afterwards and make sure I get it right. Cool?
Okay.
Okay, so this is this pivotal moment. This is the helping the customer be right. And now we see something that happened a little bit different, um, where she's like, 4 pumps, how hard can it be? And you notice he didn't argue with her. So in his mind, and some of you said this, yeah, he added 4 pumps. He knew it, and that's what really set him off. And you might be right. And that's sometimes that happens to us. The customer is like, you did it wrong. And we're like, we did it exactly right. But the point of this is not to argue with the customer, even if you know intellectually they're wrong and I'm right, for sure, it's still not a winnable argument, or it's not a good argument to be a part of. And so what the barista did instead was avoid the argument entirely and say, well, let's figure out how to get it the way you want it, regardless of the number of pumps. So here's another question I have for you via chat. I want you to look at it as the third party that we are, right? We're all watching this. We're all observing this. From your perspective, in that scene I just shared with you, how did the barista look? And what I mean is, did he look confident, competent, friendly? Did he look weak? Did he look strong? Like, how did you perceive the barista as a third-party observer in that scene I just shared with you? I'll be quiet for a moment. I'm going to put some slide back up, and I'll give you a moment to respond. How do you think the barista looked in that scene? Interesting, we're getting some different adjectives. Oh, Rebecca, I was going to ask you about that. He looked arrogant, and you're like, oh, no, I'm thinking about the wrong scene. Okay, I was really curious about that. But we all do perceive scenes and situations different than other customers and other people. So a lot of you are, I think, thinking that he appeared engaging. I'm using some of your words. He appeared engaging, confident, um, open, approachable, focused on making the customer happy. Now, these are very positive adjectives, and I want you to think about this as you apply this technique. One of the barriers that customer service professionals struggle with when it comes to the helping the customer be right technique is they worry that if they don't argue with the customer and they don't prove the customer is wrong, that they will look weak or they will look bad. And I have heard from thousands and thousands of customer service professionals. I have trained thousands and thousands of customer service professionals. And I can tell you, I hear this a lot. It is a common theme. You know, why should I agree with the customer when she's wrong? I added 4 pumps. She's wrong. Why should I just take that? I want you to think about your own words, that when the barista was confident, when he was open, and he just sidestepped the argument and said, I'm here to make it right for you. He didn't look bad. He looked great. He looked like a professional. And I think most of you felt that way. So that is how customers will perceive you when you sidestep the argument and focus on helping them be right. Now, I want to give you a bonus insight that is not in the video. Is research that I uncovered after we filmed this course. And here's this thing. It only happens when this scenario happens in public. So if it's over the phone or an email or chat session and no one else is listening in, this does not apply. But if it's in person, if it is on social media where other people are watching, then there is this bystander effect. And if you are watching this interaction, let's say in a coffee shop, you've just experienced this actually. When the customer is angry and upset, but the employee is professional and empathetic and sidesteps the argument and really tries to refocus on helping the customer. In other words, they're friendly and professional. The research I've discovered that bystander customer is more likely to be empathetic to the employee and think more highly of the service that the employee is delivering. In other words, if you can get through this really upset customer, whether it's on social media or in person where other people are watching, other customers will like you even better. So even if that one customer is still unhappy, other customers will feel better about it. Now, that same research found that if you argue back, then the customer assumes nobody's right and both are unreasonable and they don't like either one of you. So there's an extra incentive not to get involved in that argument. Okay, so that's the only segment I wanted to review today in terms of that particular video. But I do have a couple other questions for you. And one is, in this past week, what is something that you did to help a customer be right? Maybe they did the wrong thing. Maybe they made a mistake. They sometimes do. Maybe it's a perception issue, like how much vanilla is the right amount of vanilla. And some of you pointed out earlier that, you know, maybe 4 pumps at one coffee shop is different than 4 pumps at another coffee shop. What really matters is the right amount of vanilla, right? So I'll be quiet for a moment. What is something you did to help a customer be right? And as you finish typing, I encourage you to look at what other participants have written. So right off the bat, we've got a great one here. Empathizing with the customer, that's perfect. And then redirecting to a solution. So that's that acknowledge and refocus, right? And you notice a lot of these techniques, they're not really discrete and individual. They're kind of things you're doing at the same time, and that's okay. What we've really done in this section of the training video is break down each technique to the micro component. But in the moment, we're really just flowing, right? And so this is perfect. We're empathizing the customer. We're refocusing on a solution. So we're sidestepping the argument and then providing options. Do any of these work? Absolutely. Look at that. Okay, I'm just going to read a couple more of these. These are fantastic. So again, starting with acknowledging there's a problem, making that customer feel good. We talked about this last week, empathizing with the customer and really addressing those emotional needs, and then staying away from arguments and just moving to a solution, which is perfect. Perfect, perfect. One that I get a lot, and some of you may have seen me using this technique, I don't know. For those of you who subscribe to my customer service tip of the week email, what sometimes will happen is I will get an email from someone that says, hey, I subscribed to your tip of the week and it didn't arrive. You didn't send it. I'm going to share the link to it if you'd like to. Customer service tip of the week. If you don't subscribe, 1 tip via email once per week. It's really simple. And it's intentionally simple. It's designed to be a really small thing that you could use right away. So what happens though, 95% of the time, maybe more, maybe it's 99%, when a customer says, I did not get your email, you didn't send it, I keep trying, I have to understand that helping the customer be right means the customer wants to receive my email. However, 99% of the time, that email is either sitting in that customer's spam folder or their company's email servers have blocked my email from coming through. And so I try to be very careful when I respond to that customer via email to use language like, what some of you said, I'm sorry that this happened, or this shouldn't be that hard. And I actually use this one that I found very, very useful. I say, thank you for letting me know. I have seen some research, it's very early, it's very small, that sometimes thanking a customer versus apologizing is even more effective, especially if they're bringing forth an error. Like, hey, thanks for letting me know that latte isn't right today. Oh, let's get it right. So in some situations, when the customer feels you've made an error, thank you can be more useful. So I use that. I say, thanks for letting me know about that. Let's get this right. And then I check, right? You always want to check and make sure. And I always check the background of my email system. Okay, they've definitely been subscribed and I've definitely sent that email. So then I can say, let's figure out what's going on. It looks like the email's been sent. Here are a couple of options. As a couple of you said, a couple of options. And then I say, I really appreciate it if you help me solve this. So I make it like my issue and they're helping me. And it generally gets a good response because we're avoiding the argument, and in no way am I insinuating, well, it's really your fault, just get your act together and you'll be fine. But ultimately, that's what's happening is 99% of the time, the problem's on their side, not mine, yet we walk through it, we avoid any blame, and we just get to a solution. So it's something I deal with probably once a week at least, and I constantly think about this particular challenge. Okay, so I appreciate a couple of you sharing. Some of you said, I'm going to be quiet on this one. So I've got a poll for you. Let's see if polls are working. And I also want to remind you, as I'm about to launch this poll, that if you have a question for me I invite you to use the Q&A function, or let's see, polling's not working right now. Okay, let's try something different. Okay, I'm stopping this. Hang on a sec. There we go. I gotta launch this poll. All right, here we go. So the poll should be up on your screen right now. And the question is, did you use the preemptive acknowledgement technique sometime in the past week? All right, I've made a mistake. Ha, ha, ha. So, whoops. If you're answering that specific one, a lot of you will say no. The mistake is it should not be the preemptive acknowledgement. It it should be the acknowledge and refocus. If you skipped ahead in the course, you'll find the preemptive acknowledge technique, which is a completely different technique. That's the Jedi mind trick of customer service. But the acknowledge and refocus, that's what I meant to ask you. So I've already messed up. Oh, if this feels like it's being thrown together on the fly, you are correct. So the real question I meant to ask is the acknowledge and refocus technique. And if you would just pretend that that's what it says, that would be awesome. I would appreciate that. So I'm going to give you a second to respond. As you're filling this out, good news, bad news. Good news, polling is working. Bad news, I can't blame Zoom for this one because I screwed up. It's so much better, but you're my customer. It doesn't matter, right? What matters is there was an error, whether it's my error, Zoom's error, the rain, it doesn't matter. This impacted your experience. So thank you for your patience, and I appreciate you filling out the poll anyways. I'm going to end the poll now, and a few of you participated. Some of you may not have seen it, or you just don't like polls. Okay. Let's see, I can share the results with you. So it looks about 50-50. So my chat question for you is, if you'd like, share with me an example of how the preemptive, how the acknowledge and refocus technique worked for you. And a couple of you did that. I appreciate it. By the way, it's okay to say, I tried it and it didn't work, or I tried it and it sort of worked, but I think I would do it different the next time. So I'd like to get your comments via chat. And we've got a couple of more examples here. I'm going to respond to some of your chats as well. So I'll be quiet, but I'll be chatting. Let me chat with you. Let's talk about this acknowledge and refocus technique. Have you used it? What were your experiences? That's awesome, John. So if you can see in the chat, being closed, we're not serving anyone right now, but we still have coworkers, and our coworkers are our customers. We don't call them customers, but a customer is anyone that we provide a service to, which means coworkers. So a great application. It works with people. Fantastic. Great example. Give you just a few more seconds. Got another question for you. I want to go slow on this one. Okay, so as you're typing, I want to talk very briefly. In fact, I'm just going to invite you to submit your questions if you have anybody. It's kind of a quiet group today. So the question that I'll ask you to submit is, what was your experience with customers that have crossed the line? Have you had experiences with customers crossing the line in the past week? And here's the challenge with this one. If you've watched this video, you saw this. Crossing the line is different in every industry, in every situation. In some industries, what you would expect to see from a customer is vastly different. So I've done a lot of work with nonprofits, for example, with people in social work, or people who work with their customers or clients are perhaps dealing with substance abuse issues or mental health issues or cognitive challenges. There's all sorts of ranges of different types of people that we might consider to be a customer. And in some of those industries, and especially the social work industries, what you would expect to hear or experience from a customer is very different than, let's say, a retail customer. In a retail store, I would just kick that person out. But in the social work, that's exactly a sign that they need my help. So scenarios, industries, they're all very different. It's difficult to give blanket advice that says, if a customer says or does this, you're done. But the general advice is within your policy framework that your safety, your physical safety, your psychological safety is important. And you have a right to be free from abuse. Where is that line? That's the challenge. And you have to decide, working with your boss, working with your company, what is the policy? Where does the line exist? And in every situation, it's different. And sometimes, frankly, your company will put the line in the wrong place. I've talked to many people where a company will expect employees to, let's say, tolerate harassment or illegal discrimination, illegal behavior. And the companies will expect employees to tolerate this. So that's their policy. But you don't have to tolerate illegal behavior from customers. It puts you in a very difficult position. So I invite you to share your questions or your reactions to those. I'm not seeing any. So we've got a quiet group today. I want to share with you one other thing, and we're going to wrap up, especially if we don't have a lot of extra questions here. Two things, actually. One is your feedback has been very, very valuable. Both the feedback that you've shared with me directly and the data that I can see. And so I want to kind of share with you behind the scenes what I'm looking at. We've had a lot of people sign up for this training video club. We've had far fewer, about 10% of the people who signed up actually show up on some of these webinars. And there's a lot of things you can infer from that. Maybe people just don't want to sign up for the webinar. They'd rather watch the replay video. Maybe the time doesn't work or the day doesn't work. So there's lots of different things. And you might face challenges like this in your own business. So I'm making a couple of adjustments based on that for the next round of the next training video club. So that's the second thing I want to share with you. First thing is feedback. You don't need a survey. You just listen to your customers, have a dialogue, and observe them, and you can learn a lot. So here are the two adjustments I'm making to the next training video club. The next training video club will be focused on managing customer expectations. And a lot of you said that is something that you really use some help and advice on. Rather than doing 3 sessions on Fridays, we're going to do just 1 session. So on Monday, you will get an email inviting you to participate in the next video club. And it's an invitation, and you can say, yes, I want in. And all you have to do is then sign up for the Zoom webinars. And there will only be 1 Zoom webinar. And it'll be about 10 days later. So on Thursday, the 23rd, we'll do 1 check-in. So I'm going to give you from Monday, the 13th to Thursday, the 23rd, to take the entire course. So that's an adjustment we're making. We'll see if that works, if it's better for you, and better for the 90% of people who signed up but have not participated. So we'll see. If that works for you, all you have to do is sign up for the webinar. And even if you can't make the webinar, you'll get a replay. If it does not work for you, or you're saying, I'm just not interested in that topic, what I've done is, instead of sending you a bunch of reminder emails, I'm not going to send you any. I'll wait probably 2 weeks and then send you another email and says, okay, here's the next topic. Are you interested? And so each time you can either just opt in by signing up for the Zoom webinar, or do nothing and you can sit that one out. So I don't want to overload you or bombard you with too many emails. I know you're getting a lot. I'm trying to make it a little easier. So that's the adjustment. We'll see how it works. So I wanted to just share that with you so you know why those changes are being made. And if you have any feedback, as always, you could share it here. Every email you get from me, you can reply. That goes directly to me. So you can share it there. And then also, every single course has that Q&A feature. You can ask questions. You can also respond to others. I really appreciate it when people post a question and then other learners are responding with their perspective as well. Often they answer it as well or even better than I would have answered it. So making things easy for me. All right, we have just a couple of minutes left. Are there questions for you that I can answer? And my second question, if you'd like, has this training video club been valuable to you? Has it been useful? You've made the effort to tune in. Has it been useful to you? So I'll give you a chance to respond as we wrap up. I'm just taking a look at the chat box so far. Looks like a couple of you have had customers who have crossed the line, unfortunately. And it sounds like you have some great systems in place, empowering your employees to know, here's the line. If they cross the line, you don't have to take it. But also, I love the point that was made that as someone who's taking the abuse, I know if I have to transfer this to the supervisor, now the supervisor has to take the abuse. And as someone who's been in that role, who's been in both roles, yeah, I don't want to deal with it. But as a supervisor, I'll also tell you, I can't speak for others. My philosophy was always, I want to protect my employees and make their jobs easier, not harder. So I didn't mind taking that on. That's awesome that this has been useful. And I'm definitely going to take a moment to digest some of these, specific comments that you're sharing. And I really appreciate that. I want to give you one bonus technique, and please keep your comments going. The idea of transferring a call to a supervisor or even a coworker. There is a weird quirk in psychology, if you will, that if a customer is yelling at you and they're really upset at you, they start transferring the anger about whatever the issue is to you. You become the object of that. And it's another next level technique that takes a lot of self-awareness to be good with this. And the technique is simply saying, you know what, it seems like I'm not doing a great job of solving this for you. In your mind, you're like, I'm awesome, but this person's unreasonable. But the words you use are, I'm not doing a great job of solving this for you, or it looks like maybe somebody else would be better able to help you. So you've put your ego aside. That is next level. You've put your ego aside and you get them to a supervisor or to a coworker. Let's see if I can get someone who might be better able to help you with this. That sets up the expectation for the customer that the next person might be more reasonable. And it doesn't even matter if it's a supervisor, if it's the next customer. What it does is it resets the conversation, and often that's enough to take the customer from here down to here. The challenge, and this is where a lot of customer service professionals get caught up, it's not about you. Put your ego aside. It's about helping the customer. And it actually takes a really tough person to understand that and say, it's not about me. I'm not feeling shame if I transfer this customer. I'm actually doing something at a higher level than if I continue to argue with them. So a little bonus technique for you. Thank you all for your feedback. I greatly appreciate it. I hope I see you at the next training video club. And as you get emails from me, feel free to just reply and share other topics you'd like to see. I do have other things going on. I'm trying what I can to be helpful. I'll share this link one more time. Next Thursday at, I should know the time. Let's see. What time is it next Thursday? It is, let's say it's 11. Yeah, is it 11? I should know. This is embarrassing. I should know. It is. It's 11 a.m. Okay. So next Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific, the calendar will automatically adjust to wherever you are. Doing an email where I will share the latest research on how fast customers expect a response to an email, and what you can do to respond faster. So maybe I'll see you there. Maybe I'll see you at the next training video club. I've already gone over, so I apologize for that. I will stick around, answer any additional questions you might have. Otherwise, thanks for being a part of this. I really appreciate it. Stay healthy and safe, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.